So I've got Coco, and it is Pixar's latest, and it is their animated film about the Day of the Dead. And it's a really beautiful film. I think it's really unlike anything Pixar has done before. And it's the story of Miguel, who dreams of becoming a musician. He aspires to be like this super famous musician, obviously a fictional one, Ernesto de la Cruz. And so it all takes place in Mexico, which is interesting because Pixar's never done a film that's like set in such a real world location. And it's so much about a specific culture. I think very few animated films, especially, like there was actually already a Day of the Dead film that came out a couple of years ago called Book of Life. But these are very different films.
Yeah. Was it animated?
Yes, it was animated.
Okay.
Yeah. But I think it's interesting that, studios are finally being willing to explore like specific cultures and stories like this on film, because I think before they were like afraid of it. So it was really cool. I love that they use an entirely Hispanic voice cast. Benjamin Bratt's in it. Edward James Olmos. Gael Garcia Bernal. So
he's so steamy hot.
I do appreciate that this film appeals to Hispanic culture, not just Mexico. Okay, I'm going to say this, and I hate describing films this way, but I'm going to give this film this I think it's an important film, right? I think it's so important to get to see a culture like this displayed on screen in a way that is accessible to everyone, right? Like sometimes we'll see movies, but they'll be like R-rated, and you're not going to get exposed to another culture like this in such a positive way so young. That being said, I do think it's going to be more important and more sort of special to people who actually come from that background. And I think that's a valid point for anyone watching any movie that's about their own culture, because you're just so excited to see representation on screen. You won't get as many of the references if you didn't grow up in a Mexican or even a Hispanic or a Latino household, because it's just not what you're used to. And that's totally fine, right? There's nothing wrong with that, but obviously it's going to mean more to the people who come from that background than it is for the rest of us. And I do think they spent a lot of time paying attention to like keeping it authentic. So I thought that was really important, because it could have been just, this broad sweeping generalization, which probably would have ended up being offensive. So they put a lot of research into it. So I give them credit for that. And don't get me wrong, at the end of the day, still a universal story, still like a beautiful, story about family, story about music. The music is so catchy in it. And now I have the song stuck in my head. But yeah,
Sing it.
No. One, we can't afford the rights to it. Disney owns that. But I think it'll be really special for people of Mexican descent, because again, you get to see your people, your families on screen.
And especially not being depicted as like drug dealers or something like that.
Yeah. It's such a positive, representation. And I'm jealous. I want them to make a movie about like Chinese families like this. Like, I'm sure if we want to see like a positive like a family friendly.
Yeah, I'm trying to think.
No,
Disney did Mulan already.
Mulan isn't.
But I mean, it's not really culturally sensitive.
Not in the slightest. So, it's like a positive representation.
What's a good story to tell? Because I'll start writing it. There's got to be one. I mean, they're all ripoffs of real stories, right?
Yeah, but I
Most
think
of
like
them.
legends and stuff like that, because the Day of the Dead is also this like quasi mystical thing, right? That like again you might not be familiar with. Also, okay, I'm gonna note. So this is some of the coolest animation I think they've done in terms of like pushing it. It was very cartoony for them, which is something they don't usually do. It's beautiful. Like the Land of the Dead is gorgeous. It's nice. The cool, like such a cool set. The characters are really interesting. Like it's kind of cool seeing skeletons. They do some more like mature stuff, and I was like, I have to go back and watch Ratatouille. But it's the first time I've ever seen a character drink alcohol in a Pixar movie. They like pour one out for the homies at one point. I was like, oh. This is for the grown-ups right now. So I was like, maybe in Ratatouille the dude drinks wine. But I was like, okay, like there are some more adult things in this that, kids aren't going to notice or anything like that. But I do have to say, actually, for parents, you were probably going to have to explain death, because it takes place in the Land of the Dead. And I was like, that is a conversation that I think like parents might need to be prepared to have with their kids if they're going to go see this movie. So just, buyer beware. Like that is something that you should keep in mind when you see this, because it is such an integral part of it, and it takes place in the Land of the Dead. So anyway, I don't want to talk too much about the plot and stuff like that, because I don't want people to go see it. I think it's beautiful. I think it's really exciting. I think especially if it is your culture, like go see it, because I think you'll be... Also, no matter who you're going to cry at the end. Like the end bit, oh my God, I was sobbing. So... bring your tissues. It's one of those again, but the rest of it is like fun and funny and again, very entertaining. So I'm going to give it 4.5 out of 5.
Wow. There you go. 4.5 out of 5. I'll take it. I'll go see it. Coco. There you go.
Pixar's Coco.
And you said you have another one, right?
I do have another one. Unfortunately, I cannot speak as glowingly of this one. It's Roman J. Israel, Esquire. And so it's Denzel Washington as Roman J. Israel, Esquire. And it's a lawyer title. So he is playing a lawyer. And I feel like Denzel has had this run of roles recently where he basically plays the exact same character. So it's like the Tom Cruise syndrome, where you're starting. I'm like, do you do other things? Because we all know Denzel is a great actor.
That's what I was going to say is like, he can do more.
Right. We know he can, but I think we're just like people are used to seeing him do, the Denzel yelling and, it's quiet yelling. And so this was a departure from that, which is good. I think it was a more reserved role. So I was like, okay, I'm with it so far. Unfortunately, the film itself is like all over the place. It's sort of splitting its plot. And there's this whole subplot about him wanting to be an activist or like having been an activist and wanting to do that again, but through legal recourse. And if you're already getting bored by my description of it, you are picking up what I'm putting down because it's not exactly the most like riveting thing. And it could have either been a great legal drama or it could have been either a great thing about somebody like abandoning their criminal defense job and going to become a political activist and, writing sweeping legislation about that. But it like kind of splits its time in the middle. And then the other challenge is he plays a kind of savant character. So it's like Denzel's Rain Man, basically. It's a little tough to watch sometimes. And so I didn't love it. I was kind of I was disappointed, actually.
The trailer was disappointing, honestly, because the story could be great. But I felt like it wasn't done well.
Yeah, and the trailer even was more entertaining than the film itself because it made it look like it was going to be like, he's going to defy, Colin Farrell plays his boss. He's going to defy him and walk out and do all this stuff. And then it's much more complicated and unfortunately boring than that.
Yeah.
So this one's me giving you a warning to save your time, save your money. Maybe watch it if it comes out on like Netflix. Maybe. Okay. I'm only going to give it 1.7 out of 5.
Wow. All right. Well, we'll skip that one.